Welcome to another awesome community group. I'm so glad you have come together to grow in following Jesus with friends. And my first question, just get to know each other a little better, is this. What is your favorite candy? It's that time of year when people are handing out candy all over the place. So I want you to share what your favorite candy is, and I want to tell you what mine is. Mine is probably a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. Just a regular one. I also like the big ones. Or throw them in a blizzard. And if you're gonna throw them in a blizzard, I'm gonna need at least a double portion. I'm throwing in that blizzard. So share with each other what your favorite candy is that you eat around this time of year. And if you're better than all of us and you don't eat candy, then share your favorite vegetable or something. I don't know. All right, have fun. Okay, interesting topic this week as we are continuing through Romans, and we're in Romans 13. We're just looking at verse 1 through 7. You're going to read it in just a moment, but don't do it yet. It's about submission to governing authorities. Yeah, government and governing authorities. That's exactly what you were excited to read about today. But it's very important for us. This isn't a political statement. This isn't talking about the right or the left or Democrats or Republicans. It's none of that. It's as a civilian in a state where there is governance, how do we view government and its role, and how do we submit in the way that we are shown in Scripture? And so we're going to see that God is the one that established government, that He established government inside of, or authority inside of the home, inside of the church, and inside of the world. And so I want you to read Romans 13, 1 through 7. And after you read it, I want you to answer this question. How similar is your attitude toward the authorities to the one Paul commands here? We see in verse 3 and 4, at the end of 3, it says that if we do what is right, they will commend us, authorities will, and that if we do what's wrong, that they are told to punish the wrongdoer, that they even carry the sword, so that they are to enforce the law, and that God has established governing authorities and those that would restrain evil in the culture, so that things aren't a free-for-all and wild, and they are called to bring order. And so in this view that they are to commend good and to restrain evil or punish wrongdoers, how do you feel about the role of governing authority laid out in these scriptures? Talk about it. As always, these things are difficult because we're called to submit to authority, and everything in us wants to rebel against someone telling us what to do. In fact, that's actually why we sin in the first place, is we revolt against the clear commands of God. And we tend to do that towards human authority also, even though human authority has been established by God. That's not to say that all human authority has been done well. There's been horrific things done by authority, and that's one of the reasons we struggle. But we see clearly here that we're submit to the laws of the land and to the authorities, the people that are in charge to enforce those laws. Now, I do want to be clear about something. There is a time to have civil disobedience. There is a time to disobey the authorities, and that is when the authority above them has a different command. And so, since God has established authority, they're called to keep a moral code and to rule correctly. And if they tell us, they command us to do something that God forbids, we are to do what God says. If they forbid something that God commands, we are to do what God says. And so those are the times of civil disobedience. And so here's a question for you. Are there any ways in which you are being called courageously to disobey an authority to obey God? And so after you answer that question, I know there's a lot there. Make sure that you pray for each other and just love on each other, and then I'll see you Sunday.